So Alice is joining us today from Codat. She is the head of global marketing over there. So she'll be talking a little bit about sort of her position from the marketing point of view, but then also they're making the swap from being a more sales-led to product-led company. And so I think some of the planning that's gone into that will be really interesting to talk about. So with that, Alice, I will pass it over to you. Thanks to everybody who's on camera right now. Also, if anybody's not and you're willing to be, feel free to turn that on. It's always more fun.
Hi, everyone. Really, really nice to meet you. And I'm really hoping this is not 30 minutes of me speaking. I have 0 slides. I have tons of questions for you. If anything, I'm just going to be asking you loads of questions. But really, really nice to meet you. I'm Alice. I've been at Codat for about 4 months now. And a bit of background pre-Codat. I actually studied cell biology and then made the obvious switch into marketing. I was a headhunter for about 1.5 years, and I was hiring for senior marketing people into tech companies. And I was like, well, tech's really cool. Why aren't I in tech? So I actually then became an SDR, a BDR, for a software company based in California called Bloomreach. And my job was to hammer the phones, and it's a thumbs up from Dave, and get us introductions to the largest retailers. And they basically gave me a laptop and said, like, you get paid every time you get a meeting. So I had to hound these businesses and be really relevant and really personalized. But it was quite an ineffective way of us building this business, because it was all about the BDR team. So I then moved into a split role where I was also managing the marketing function. And then I moved to Adyen, a large payments company. You might know them, based out of the Netherlands. And my original role was to help pivot Adyen from a business that only focused and sold payments to the largest enterprise companies, the Ubers, Netflix, etc., and build this engine of growth in the mid-market. Really, really. Oh, you know Jordan Roper from Bloomreach. Nice. Yeah, he's a great guy. It's a very small world. So yeah, at Adyen, very, very interesting role. And then I was I had an interesting twist in my story. I was headhunted to go and work at Fast. I don't know if any of you heard about Fastgate, the leading unicorn that was going to change the world in one-click payments. And I was lured away, and then found myself 5 days before joining jobless, which was very, very interesting. And obviously, like, sad and stressful at the same time. But I was really lucky in that Index Ventures, one of Codats investors, was extremely helpful and gave me access to some really, really interesting conversations, including with Codat. And I actually said no to Codat at first. I was like, oh, it's an API infrastructure company. I want to work for a cool company. And the CEO spoke to me and said, I think you're wrong. I think you should just come and see what we're about. So I did a couple of weeks at Codat, and I fell in love with the business. I fell in love with the product and what we're doing. And we're on a really exciting journey. So I'm here to tell you a bit more about that. So does anyone know about Codat? Yeah, APIs can be cool. That's what I've learned. I was wrong. Does anyone know about Codat? Maybe a little bit. Okay, we're in this sexy space of API infrastructure, which is actually extremely critical for businesses. If you're a small business, you use a ton of different systems to manage your business and to see what's going on. You might use an accounting software, Xero or Sage, for example, QuickBooks. You might then use a different system to manage your payroll. You might then use a bank to look at your transactions. None of these systems speak to each other. So if you run a small hairdressing salon or a recruitment business or whatever business, you actually spend loads of time manually aggregating data rather than actually building your business. Codat solves this connectivity issue, and we help businesses build connections to each other, giving them access to a single API via Codat. Hopefully that makes sense. I've been there 4 months. I'm still refining my pitch, but it's really, really interesting. So do check out the business if you've not heard of Codat. And the journey that Codat's been on, we built our first customers based on a few really large enterprise deals and some very specific use cases. It was a traditional sales motion, BDR team, sales contacts, and that's how we built our business. And we still have a very successful sales-driven motion targeting high-value named accounts. And for a bit of context, we focus on 4 different business segments. So SaaS companies, then payments companies, lenders, and then large financial institutions. So there really are 4 verticals, and we have this kind of account-based marketing motion. However, we have seen the power of product-led growth for Codat in helping us build a new revenue engine, helping us to drive innovation. And I'm going to tell you a bit about the journey we're making from this largely sales-driven organization to one that also really accommodates and respects product-led growth. Are there any questions before I go on to talk about the steps that we're taking? None so far. Breezy, all good so far? Am I on track?
So I did see Rishi though unmute, so I wasn't sure if he had one.
No, I'm good, guys.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. So we have 2 quite distinct audiences. Like I mentioned, these named accounts that we're really acquiring with this traditional sales-driven motion. And then what we have is this untapped audience of developers who are sitting in rooms everywhere by themselves, building like MVPs, like thinking about new fintech businesses that can solve problems for small businesses. And what we really want to do is tap in as they're building to help them build really truly innovative products. A challenge for Codat is if we've had this very traditional sales model, we know the accounts, we kind of like throw content their way, throw a salesperson at them and hope the deal closes. Now what we have is this like huge goldmine of untapped developers who are building the products of the future, but we don't know who they are. Often they tend to use Gmail. They don't even necessarily have a business name. And it's how do we really pivot our mindset to drive like really via our product and acquire them that way. So that's the journey that we're going on. It's also a really interesting journey for me because as an ex-SDR, as somebody who's really done this account-based marketing, I'm constantly having to check myself and the assumptions I make and the whole approach of the marketing team. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about how we're pivoting marketing. All good so far? Perfect. So the first step we had to take in really focusing the business on this, building this sort of self-service engine was to make sure that the business understood why we were doing that. What we had to do is make a conscious decision to refocus resource from this high value enterprise, like really cool, sexy deals that we all like know the names of, and take people away from that project to say, actually, we need to build this engine where we acquire startups who pay us very little money on a self-service like startup program. And we really had to go and justify that and get alignment. And we knew we had to get business buy-in before we could make this successful. And I would say we're really in a very, very good spot there. People see the potential of these. If we could give really easy access to developers to build on Codats APIs, they're actually helping drive our innovation. There's these use cases that are emerging that we'd never even considered, and it's because we're getting our product into developers' hands. So just one example of that. Carbon accounting is not something that Codat ever started considering. But what we now have is these carbon accounting companies, and they can easily pull a wide variety of data on their small business customers, and they can help them to understand their carbon footprint. Like that's amazing. And we by giving developers access to our APIs, they can really help fuel where we're going and the direction we're taking. One massive key vision for the business. So that's one thing. Second, it's a potentially extremely lucrative revenue stream for us. It helps to de-risk our business if we get a high volume of companies through. And like I said, that we're really trying to identify the fintechs of the future. So hopefully as they grow, we grow too. So step one, Breezy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So how did you discover like this group of folks that were sort of like prime for you all to work with, right? So like you're doing these enterprise sales. Did this just come up naturally? Is it something that you sort of like heard of externally? How did you come across this?
Yeah, so we had, if I think just about like what we were trying to drive people, the actions we were trying to drive like potential prospects to, we have a test account, and then we had this contact sales form. And like me and my SDR days, I just want everyone to go straight to the contact sales form and like get a meeting. What we saw is just like a higher volume of traffic going through to our test account. And we really then thought like maybe we should dig in and investigate. What are these people doing? Often they were people who are in our current sales cycles who wanted to go and like test out the product. We were actually getting these companies through that we'd never heard of, like brand new companies we'd never even thought about, who were clearly using our product in really interesting ways. And it diverted our attention away from our traditional cycle into really thinking, actually, we really think there's potential here.
Cool, makes sense.
Nice. So we're all aligned on the potential of this, really building this high growth self-service engine for Codat. Step 2, defining the goals. By the way, this is all like, when I say we're like doing this, this is literally in the last couple of weeks. So we just had a session with the growth team, which we've now assembled, to define the goals. What are the key metrics that we're going to care about? And it might sound really obvious. I'm also aware I'm in a room full of product-led growth experts, and I'm like a week into being a product-led growth marketer. But the metrics that we've rallied around are like essentially like we can measure them right now, and they're really clear goals. One of them is the number of free trial signups. We're doing work now to investigate who these people are that are signing up, but that's really clear for us. And as I'm trying to help work with a marketing team to drive awareness, like it's a really good, like tangible metric where we can track. The next one is the number of startups who have converted from the free trial to our paid plan. We've got a startup plan, which is pay as you go. So we're tracking the conversion rates. And then finally, so Codat, obviously we sell to like a startup, unless a small business is linking their data, there's no impact. So we also look at a metric, which is what we call active connected companies, which is the SMBs that consent to share their data via the Codat API. So we also look at that as a metric. So what's the actual, it's a good gauge for us of actual product usage. So 3 metrics: number of free trial signups, number of people converting from free trial to paid plan, and then active connected companies, i.e. product usage. Quite simple. Does anyone think that we're like, are we missing any? Are these just really obvious? Like are we in the right place?
Yes, one comment, Alice, though. I think one of the things that so we're going through the similar brainstorm thing. I feel these are the right metrics, but the journey between the initial sign up of a user or a developer and the time to conversion when they may actually use your API in production in their app, that's a usually longer journey, right? It may be months, and sometimes if they are a startup, it may be a year long, right? And I almost feel that those metrics that you point out, there's a beginning metric, there is a conversion metric, and then there is post-production when they go into. And I'm struggling myself, but I feel there needs to be a couple of checkpoints in the middle, right? The user signs up, now they start to develop. And these are more product metrics, but translated to marketing because you got to take them through the journey. So I feel, and I don't know what the right answer is, but depending on your product, you need to find those couple of checkpoints in the middle so that you know, there's like, it's not like you say, hey, 1,000 signups happened and then 10 conversions happened, and then you don't know what happened in that middle. So that's at least one thing to think about.
That's a really great point. Nicole, I see you're nodding. Is there anything you'd add to that? And what kind of supporting metrics would you think that we could consider?
Yeah, so definitely having activation cues that are metrics that can like trigger specific marketing really helped us. So just depends on your product exactly what that would be, but we would have things, you know, people would sign up and then there was specific behaviors that they would take that would tell us there's like high value actions that we would measure that would trigger certain things to keep moving them down the journey. And then there were also like actually a point where we considered them activated before they were actually paying customers. And so just identifying all of those steps that marketing can then go in and nurture them along the path is really, really high value.
Okay, that's really valuable. Dalton, I see you've added something to the chat. Let me see what you've said. Yeah, I think I'm interested in how you look at those metrics and assign strategies and in iterative programs to improve them. Yes, okay. And I'm also curious how you work with sales, as they have a huge hand improving the connected. Yes. Like sales is a really, really great question. We are currently really trying to define that. What we have is a very productive BDR team. What I think the first step needs to be is us rethinking their incentives. Right now, they're incentivized on like the largest deals, and the deals are like a certain level of qualification. And I think this is a completely different ballgame. Has anyone else been through this journey of how to, and I actually know that somebody came on and spoke before about how like an outbound motion and you use your BDR team. I haven't done my homework, I haven't watched it, but is there anyone on this call who has really like made learnings on how to best use it, say, for example, an SDR team? Dalton,
I'll
go
add
ahead.
one specific thing, Alice, is that in terms of our automated outreach, so we also have, like people sign up for free trial, and there's a lot of automated emails. We actually have it set up that if anybody replies to any one of those automated emails, it's an SDR that usually gets involved. And it's
nice.
Basically, we have the same assignment, like in second anybody signs up to our product and they, they're assigned a territory, like an SDRNA, etc. But it's no longer, the second somebody replies, it's no longer the marketing team it's at that point, it's really the sales team to follow up because they're engaged now in an actual conversation opposed to kind of automated. So that's one thing which helped us a lot because it was a bottleneck at a certain point.
I've heard of two different ways that a lot of teams use their SDRs as well. So some have sort of shifted SDRs, and this is a pivot. I guess I should really call it a pivot more than a shift, but pivoting their team to going from being sort of like that SDR role to being more of like, it's phrased as like a product specialist. So basically, or like onboarding specialist. But the reason that it would really require new training is you go from being like aggressive, get in front of people, like helpful and all the things that SDRs also are. But that like aggressive piece is like, you almost want to be the opposite. You're playing like the defense, I guess. Like you are the one who's just there to help provide other use cases, really more like of a nonchalant, helpful type of role. So I'd say like that's one way. And then another way would be, it'd be sort of more closely related to what like BDRs and SDRs are today, which is that as you see folks coming in who are from some of the key accounts that you'd want to talk to, they can help to navigate those accounts. So finding not just the person who came in, but then finding other people at that account that might make sense to also collaborate with them inside the platform, things like that. So those are sort of two of the ways that I've seen it.
Yeah, and I like your shift in the name. What did you call your like SDR in disguise?
Like a product specialist or onboarding specialist, things like that.
Nice. And I actually think probably it's a different profile of person. I think retraining an SDR might be a real challenge. So maybe
if they're hammering the phones outbound, that might be a very different thing. But you never know. You never know till you ask, because there are like a decent number of SDRs, I think, today who kind of shift into roles all across the org. They don't all go to sales like it used to be.
Dalton, it's interesting you said in the chat that you've split your teams. Is that right?
Yeah, we have some SDRs doing both like outbound for expansion and new business, and then we have a team of product specialists that assist with both customers, but more focus on onboarding folks in our trial to get them to like our activation or product qualified lead, and then either allow them to either self-service or move them to a sales-led motion.
Okay, really interesting. Amir says, does onboarding gravitate more towards a CS team, customer success team?
It's very blurry between CS and sales and product led. If you're doing it right, I think it gets pretty blurry.
We put our CS team on like our most like high ARR accounts, and many like if we think of it as like very high touch, and we think of product specialists as more scalable, low touch. So like programs like group onboarding calls or one-to-many comms versus like a CSM, which is like something that you would be probably more like building deep relationships and trying to expand to get them company-wide with our product specifically.
Dalton, where do you work? What's the product?
It's called Guru. It's a knowledge management software.
Interesting.
Yeah, but so Breezy, I think your point about it's very blurry is exactly how it is. The skills are very similar. I mean, CSM is a different skill, Dalton, but CS engineer, like a customer success engineer or a product specialist, pretty much same skills. The goals are slightly different. So I feel depending on who's leading the team, you could merge the team into a single team or not, because the goals are slightly different. I mean, that early on, you need the usage conversion And then later on, you want to drive more adoption and expansion within the account. Slightly different goals, though.
Can I ask, in general, what do you all find the capacity of like a product specialist is? So, you know, if you have a team of, let's say, 1 to 5 people, how many, you know, how much outreach are they doing, and like how many conversations are they able to have in, let's say, in the span of a day or a week? Is there, I guess, do people have KPIs around that?
Dalton's still unmuted. Dalton, anything to add?
I mean, I have an idea, but I think we actually have documentation on this. And again, I think it's different for every company. We have a mix of folks who do chat on intercom and group onboarding calls or one-on-one calls. And I'm sure I can send something maybe to Breezy for an idea about capacity. But right now, like, for example, we cover I think our PS team right now covers a couple hundred lower spend, high potential accounts versus our CSMs who have a book of business.
Okay, nice. I'm gonna keep things rolling because I've got more questions for you. I've still got some questions unanswered. So the next step was building this team to focus on this, our growth team. And so what we have is we've just promoted someone internally to really manage and think about the developer experience. So the whole end-to-end experience, like optimizing our docs, etc. What like our ethos is, even if we're discoverable, even if the marketing site is perfectly clear, our pricing's frictionless, like if like it's understanding and really trusting our technology that converts these people. So that's what this Max, who's in our team, is really focused on. The second one is marketing. We've actually just hired somebody who's going to be focusing on helping us pivot our team towards this product-led growth angle. And I'm going to talk about the different initiatives that we've got planned for that. And then finally, a program manager to really like bring this force together and make sure we're sticking to clearly to our goals. Before I dig into marketing and what we're doing there, are there any marketers on the call? Nicole and Jake, great news. Perfect. We can always do a breakout room after, and I can pick your brains even more. But just to talk you through what we currently have, the current setup. So we've got 3 pillars within the marketing function. We've got a brand and content team, which includes comms as well. And that's really like, let's get Codat on the map. Make sure that everybody, next time I come on this call, everyone will know who Codat are because we've done an excellent job with brand. The next pillar is product marketing, extremely important function for us. We have quite a complex product. We've got a plethora of use cases, industries, verticals. It's a challenge. And our product marketing team bring real simplicity to this. And then the final pillar is our demand generation pillar, which is interestingly like the background that I've come from, which is all about working closely with sales and driving leads to them through various marketing initiatives. A traditional sales-led setup. What we now have is this new hire coming in to really help drive the startup function and pull in different people from for example, the demand gen function from product marketing, and build a squad that are all focused around driving this self-service engine. And that's the journey we're going on. The step 1 for us is to really understand who our ideal customer is. We talk about like this nebulous pool of developers, and we've never really asked like, who are they? Who aren't they? What do they want from us? Where are they based? Like really like profile the people who are coming to us and really then work out our TAM. Like again, like I just like lie awake at night thinking like, how can we capture these developers? But like, I don't know how many there are out there. So really it's like being critical about who we're not going to go after and who we really are going to focus on, and turning this like nebulous black box into something there where we're really clear. And it might be that we do have a really large TAM. That's our gut feel. But maybe we then make decisions on where we start and then where we go to, rather than right now we just like, we did developer marketing, which means I think we put like $2,000 behind some Reddit ads. It was really bad. So Breezy asked me to talk about things that didn't go well. I would say it was that. It was unstructured. We just thought that's where developers hung out. It was not part of a broader strategy of like, who are we really going after? So that's step 1, is for us to really define that. Step 2, like I said, like what's the size of the prize? Like what's the TAM? And then step 3 is really then thinking about these tactics. So we really need to reconsider SEO. We're not optimized for the developer audience. Our nurture tracks, they're very, very basic. They're rudimentary. They're based on like traditional signals rather than signals of like product use and engagement. It's like, so really making that more sophisticated. The next one is thinking about like ads and intelligent ad placement and intelligent messaging that actually resonates rather than like ads because we do marketing and we have a budget for ads. Events, again, like really like a different approach, a different mindset. We've actually just got back from DevCon in Denver and we learned a ton from developers about like where they linger, like what they want from a marketing team, which is often like very discreet. And so we're really learning all the time from these different tactics. I know oh my goodness, we've got 2 minutes left. That's awful. I've got loads of questions, but maybe given we only have 2 minutes, does anyone have any final questions for me? Or any statements or anything we should be really thinking about? Because I spoke to Breezy and what would be really nice is if 6 months time, we can come back and tell you about all the success we've had.
I also saw in the chat, there's at least a few folks who would like to kind of stay on. I don't know if you're able to, Alice.
I actually have a meeting with the CEO, so I don't think I'm in trouble, but
well, we'll get a group together. So I'll send out the recap from this. And then if anyone wants to join on a more marketing specific, just get together, reply and let me know, and we'll just set up a separate time for that.
I'll also just post my LinkedIn profile. Please do connect with me. I've got 8 new connection requests. That's wonderful. Thanks, everyone. I'll post that. Really, really nice to speak to you all. Any advice, thoughts, ideas, then please keep them coming.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thanks so much, Alice. This was awesome, and we're excited to hear about how the progress goes over the next few months.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.